Okay, we are going to create the beginning of our hexagonal web for our Be the Good unit. So we are going to click on Hexagonal Thinking, Be the Good, and create a copy. Okay, so the directions here just say to click on the link and make a copy of the Be the Good hexagonal thinking slides in your drive. And of course, this video will give you further directions, but also we would have done this in class together. Okay, so we're going to make a copy. You are going to want to make sure that you also put this copy in your English 10 folder in your Google Drive so that you have it at the ready whenever we are working on it. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look what this looks like here. This copy, you have 3 slides. So this first one is the general directions. The second slide here, you will see all of these hexagons, and then also these 5 arrows for making connections. And then on the third slide, you have where you will actually type in your connections and you will do the explanations. Okay, so let's go back to this first one here. Okay, let's see if this actually, okay, just so it's a little bigger. So just real quick, let's go through these directions. So number 1, create your web of ideas. So in hexagonal thinking, you connect terms and ideas through the sides of each hexagon. A hexagon has 6 sides, therefore each term or concept can connect up to 6 others. As you read the articles, watch the TED Talk, and listen to the podcast for our Be the Good unit, use your critical thinking to decide which of the terms or concepts are most important in each piece and how they best fit in the web of hexagons provided. Your goal is to drag each hexagon into the position where it best fits within the overall web. You could connect any given term to several others, but be intentional with your placement. Make the most important connections your priority. Remember, this is an assignment you will be working on for several weeks as we continue through our unit. And we will read, watch, and listen to various texts related to the Be the Good unit. You may wind up rearranging your hexagons a few different times through the course of the unit. You may have many moving parts here, okay? So type your terms into the hexagons first, and then drag the hexagons into place. Then once you've read, watched, listened to all of the text in the unit, drag the numbered arrows in to point at the most interesting connections for your connection explanations, okay? So that's all part 1. A lot of working parts there. Part 2 is to explain your connections. So you will do nothing for part 2 until the end of the unit. Okay, so let me repeat that. You will not work on any of your connections until the end of the unit. Okay, so we are just starting the unit, so you will not do anything until the end. Okay, but number 2 there says once you've decided where each concept should go, you should be ready to explain its placement. In the slide following your web, you will explain the connection each arrow with each arrow where it's pointing in, and you'll give me a paragraph demonstrating your critical thinking there. This might be a connection between many hexagons or maybe just 2 hexagons, okay? So you see an example there, and those are some science terms and things there, so you can take a look at that on your own and kind of look to see maybe where those connections are being made. So see how the arrows are pointing in to the specific, pieces here. These are all connections that are being made, and then over here you have these examples. So connection 1 is arrow 1, right? And then this is the connection. And then connection 2 is right over here, and then this is the connection. Okay, so you can, this is in your slides, you can read this on your own Let's look at the next slide. So here are your hexagons. Each hexagon has already been, all you have to do is click on the hexagon and put in your term or your concept, and then place it accordingly. Okay, so we'll come back to that. And then, like we said, the last slide is where you would do your explanations. Okay, so let's go here. We're all going to do this kind of together. What you want to do, the first thing is to pretty much take all these off. Okay, you want to remove all of these hexagons, the best, off the slide that you can. Just keep on working on it. Okay, so take all of those off on each side, and then as you need, you can pull back over. Okay, so you're gonna do that. La la la. Okay, so notice how I just left a couple there right now, and I have also removed my arrows. Okay, so pretty much I have a blank slate on my slide. Now we have read Maslow's hierarchy of needs, our article, and we have already annotated. So basically we need to take the concepts that we find important from this article and label them on our hexagons. So after we've had our discussion, we probably could identify that Maslow had a hierarchy of needs, right? And that those needs were in a certain order, and that they were also kind of, they built upon each other. So we are going to label our hexagons that way. So if you notice, if you double, or if you click on the word term, okay, and then you can kind of relabel those things, okay? So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so I have labeled, I have the general idea here for the article, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and then I also have the 5 needs put onto the hexagons. So need 1 is the physiological need, and again, these all build on each other, right? So need 2, or 2 in the hierarchy of needs is needs security. 3 is social needs, 4 is esteem needs, and then 5 is self-actualizing needs. Now you will have to probably adjust your font size. You'll notice that my physiological needs is really kind of smaller so that it fits there. Self-actualizing is kind of a long word, so I just split it where I thought it made the most sense. So it's still readable. Okay, but I didn't want to make it too small. But you can adjust your font size as well. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to start building our hexagonal web. Okay, so obviously Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that's going to kind of be in the center, right? This is the very first thing in our unit that we are starting with, and this is the concept that is going to build, everything else is going to build on. So we are going to use this right in here in the center. Okay, so you're going to put yours in the center. And then we have the 5 needs. We already kind of identified that they build upon each other, right? So you have to start with 1 and then move to the next one. So let's take 1, physiological needs, okay, and we'll just stick it, you can stick it anywhere, any connection, any side to the first hexagon that is the hierarchy of needs concept, okay? So I'm just gonna start at the top, and then I'm going to work clockwise, because to me that makes the most sense. So I'm gonna put it right at the top, okay? Need 1, physiological needs. Now I'm going to take the next thing, like we said, it builds, right? So need 2 is security needs. So when I take this hexagon, I need it to be touching Maslow's hierarchy of needs plus it needs to be touching physiological needs because it has to build. You can't have security needs until your physiological needs are met, correct? So to me, and if I'm going clockwise, the only logical place there would be right there, where it is touching Maslow's hierarchy of needs hexagon and the physiological needs hexagon, because it's building upon each other, right? So it has to touch those two things. The next thing is going to be social needs. And again, if we go with that idea that it's building upon each other, social needs cannot be met until your security needs have been met. So it has to touch security needs, and it's going to touch the hierarchy of needs. Okay. Now so to me, that makes sense to put it right there. When you are moving your hexagons, try to make sure that you are not touching, that you're not covering the other words too much so that, you know, we can't read it, okay? So just be very careful. You may have a little bit of white background. It may not line up exactly, but do your best, okay? Ooh, look at, I think I got that one. Okay, so after social needs are met, then is 4 esteem needs. Right? So we're continuing this concept that these are all part of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. They all need to touch that hexagon, plus they need to touch the hexagon before them, because you can't meet this need without meeting the need prior, right? It builds on each other, okay? So esteem needs has to touch social needs as well, which is touching security needs, because security needs have to touch physiological needs, because those are the things that have to be met before the next one can be achieved. Okay, so then the last we have is self-actualizing. So obviously that is going to just be right there, because it's going to touch this centerpiece, and then it's also going to touch esteem needs. Okay, so we have now started our web for our Be the Good in the World unit, okay? So every other item that we read, we watch, we listen to, we are going to pull concepts from those pieces, and we are going to add them onto these other hexagons here, okay? And we will then add those onto our web, and it will start to take it on its own shape. Okay, now I built mine this way. If you decided you wanted to start at the bottom and build this way, that would be okay too. But the idea here is that right now you should have hexagons that are starting to make the shape of what, in my opinion, looks like a flower minus one petal. Okay, so you can't line them up and just have like line them up off of here and have like a DNA chain, because that wouldn't make sense. Oh, here we go. Because for us, when we read Maslow, the whole idea is that you have to have these needs met and that it goes in order, and you can never get to self-actualizing needs if your security needs are never met, right? So those things underneath on the pyramid, so to speak, are important. So that is why we have done a circle here and create our hexagon. Starts off almost looking like a flower. Okay, make sure that you save this in the English 10 folder in your Google Drive so that you can find this often over the next handful of weeks as we continue to work in this unit.